Big Z here, and today we're going to be changing the differential fluid on my Jeep JK.
So the first thing we're going to do here is remove this drain plug right here, and you just need this ratchet, and you put it right in there. And once you get it out, the oil will just start to drain right out of the differential. There we go. Then you just let that oil drain in there, and then the next thing we'll be doing is inspecting the drain plug. So the drain plug has a magnet on it, and as you can see, there's quite a bit of metal buildup. And what that is on there is it's metal that's sticking to that magnet, and it's holding a bunch of oil with it too. So it looks like mud. So you're gonna clean all that off and make sure there's not any like big chunks in there. Well, mine did have quite a bit. I also went over my mileage interval, so there's going to be more metal in there. It's also the first time I've ever changed the differential fluid on this Jeep, so it's going to be a little bit higher amount of metal that's going to get collected by that magnet. It's not anything to be concerned about right there. So then just clean this thing off as long as it looks good, and get it ready to apply that thread sealant. So once the differential is closer to being completely drained out, we're going to apply the thread sealant, and you're going to only apply it to these top threads right here. You don't want to apply it to the lower parts because then you're risking the thread sealant getting into the differential and contaminating the oil inside the differential. So we're just going to apply thread sealant just to that top part right there, and go ahead and do that. So this stuff is like a really thick paste, and you don't need a whole lot of it. You don't want to have a whole bunch of excess because it'll just make a big mess. And you're just going to lightly brush it onto the threads. And you don't need to cover all the threads all the way around. You just need to get a good portion of it, because once it actually starts rotating into the differential and like the threads start to go in there, it'll push it the rest of the way around, and that's just another way to ensure that you don't get too much on there. So I'm just going to apply a little bit more just to make sure that we get a good seal on there. We don't have any leaking at the low point of the differential, and that should be good. Alright, so now you're just going to reinstall that drain plug onto your differential, now that you got that thread sealant on there. And you're just going to make it good and snug. I'm not sure the actual torque value of this right here. But yeah, just make sure it's on there good enough that it's not going to leak or rotate itself out. And then we're going to remove the top one. You can remove the top one while it's draining if you want to. It's just not the way that I did this when I was doing the front. And it's on there pretty good because it's painted on. Because once again, this is the first time that I've ever removed these plugs. So I'm gonna break it free. It's also pretty dirty. And now that I got the top one out, I want to show you the difference here. Notice that this one doesn't have the magnet. There's no magnet on the fill plug here. It's just on the drain one because you just want to collect metal down at the low point. So no magnet. So if you're ever confused between the two, like which one's the top, which one's the bottom, if you take them both at the same time, the bottom one has a magnet. So we're going to go ahead and just clean this up real good, and I'm going to get all that gunk out of the threads there, and then we'll fill up the differential and reinstall this plug here. So you want to prepare yourself and figure out which angle you're going to go at before you actually cut the cap off of the oil bottle here. And you're going to fill it up until oil starts coming out of that hole there. And that's how you know it's full. So I cut the cap off and I put my finger on there to not let oil through. And then put it in there. You can see that oil starting to kind of come out there. And then you're just going to let it sit in there. You can squeeze the bottle to help it come out more. You can let it just rest on this bar here. And you're just going to let it fill up. Once it's done, like you said, you can see the oil starting to drip out of that hole there. That means that it is full. So you can go ahead and take it out. And that was pretty much the whole bottle. So it took 1 liter or 1 quart to fill up this front differential here. And so you can see that there's oil coming out of that hole right there. And that means that it is full. So we're going to reinstall the plug. And then the front differential will be done after a little bit of cleanup. Good to go.
So there's one last thing that I want to talk about before I move to the rear, and that's when you should do it, right? So we already talked about the mileage, and you should do it every 15 to 20,000 miles if you have one of these Jeep JKs. Always refer to your owner's manual for actual proper intervals. But also, there's people that say that you should take it for a drive so that it's nice and warmed up and the oil comes out easily, and there's other people that say that you should wait overnight and do it. That's really up to you. I let it sit overnight. That's just because when the timing was convenient for me. And I prefer to do it that way because then I feel that everything is settled down at the bottom and I'm not missing any oil that might be still up in the gears. But it's totally up to you. There's benefits to both. So, yep. For the rear, I'm going to be doing it with just a time lapse because we've already seen it. It's the same process as the front, just a little bit more oil.
And that's it. That's all it takes. Once you're done filling up all that oil, then you just got to put back on the plug and you're good to go. I would drive it around a little bit, make sure nothing's leaking, make sure everything's tightened down properly. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.